It happened in a single breath, one heartbeat, one blink where the world shifts. And suddenly the life you knew begins to unravel in ways you never imagined. Michael Hayes, a 32-year-old single father, who spent most of his days chasing deadlines and most of his nights trying to be the hero his little girl believed he was, had no idea that Hayes' entire future would change the moment Hepesh opened the wrong door on the 20th floor of the Sterling Tower. It was meant to be an ordinary morning in an ordinary life. But what he saw behind the door would pull him into a story of vulnerability, power, unexpected connection, and the fragile threads that tie two broken souls together. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us how unexpected moments can transform our lives, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps so much more than you know. Michael had been running late after dropping off his daughter Lily at school. Traffic had been brutal. The coffee machine at home had betrayed him with a final sputter, and he felt more than anything the exhaustion of a man trying desperately to carry the weight of two lives with only one pair of hands. His job at Sterling Financial Solutions wasn't glamorous, but it paid just enough to keep a roof over Lily's head, and that was enough for him. Still, the constant fear of losing his job creeped in daily, especially after rumors of company restructuring began spreading. That morning, he rushed down the hallway toward what he thought was the conference room, where an urgent briefing was supposed to be held. His mind was racing, thinking of tasks left undone, of Lily's lunch money. He nearly forgot off the rising bills sitting unopened on his kitchen counter. So, he didn't think twice when he grabbed the silver handle, swung open the door, and stepped inside. And then the world stopped. Standing in front of a full-length mirror halfway into a deep red dress was the CEO of Sterling Financial, Ava Sterlinghurst. The woman who built an empire before she turned 40. The woman nobody was allowed to schedule a meeting with unless you were 2 floors above Michael's pay grade. The woman known across the industry as cold, polished, brilliant, and terrifying. And there she was, vulnerable, surprised, human, staring back at Michael with eyes wide now to reflect the entire skylit city behind her. Michael froze, his breath caught mid-inhale. His face flushed anger he didn't know he was capable of producing. Ava, equally stunned, clutched the dress to her chest, her expression a mixture of shock and something far softer than the rumors about her implied. For several seconds, time was a silent ocean. No sound, no movement, only the unspoken recognition that something irreversible had just happened. Michael stumbled back, muttering apologies that tripped over each other. He nearly tripped over Theodore's frame, almost dropped his work files, and his heart felt like somebody had punched it from the inside. He expected alarms, security, a termination letter within the hour. Ava Sterling didn't tolerate mistakes. Everyone knew that. But she didn't scream. She didn't threaten. She didn't even look angry. Instead, something flickered in her gaze. Something like understanding or maybe exhaustion. As if she too had been carrying the invisible weight of a life that demanded too much. Michael shut Theodore quickly and practically sprinted down the hall, wishing he could erase the last 30 seconds from the university entirely. But nothing was ever the same after that. All day, Michael waited for consequences. His palms were sweaty, his pulse uneven. He replayed the moment over and over until the edges of the memory felt razor sharp. But their prime never came. No email, no phone call, no HR meeting, just silence. And somehow that scared him more. By afternoon, though, something even stranger happened. A message appeared in his inbox. Short, formal, unmistakably her. See me. 6 p.m. office. Michael's stomach twisted so violently I had to sit down. 6 p.m. meant the building would be mostly empty. It meant whatever was coming, he wouldn't have witnesses. He imagined walking out with a cardboard box in the crushed hope of stability for Lily. But he went anyway. He always showed up no matter how scared was. That was the rule he had built his life on. Ava's office was located on the executive floor with wall-to-wall windows overlooking the city like a queen's throne. When Michael stepped inside, he half expected security guards to be waiting. Instead, Ava stood alone beside her desk, the twilight city glowing behind her like a crown of flights. She turned to face him, hair expression unreadable, calm, and quietly intense. She didn't mention the Morninge incident directly. Instead, she asked about his department's current project, his workload, his responsibilities, and unexpectedly about Lily. Michael was startled. How did she even know he had a daughter? But Ava simply gave a small distant smile as if she had made it her business to know more than she ever let in. She asked real questions, ones that Simeon would only ask if they cared about the answers. And strangely, Michael found himself opening up in ways he had not in years, about late nights, about trying to balance parenthood with work, about the grief of losing Lily's mother 3 years earlier. Ava didn't interrupt, didn't judge, didn't command. She listened. Really listened. And for Eamon used to being overlooked in a world too busy to slow down for him, that simple act felt like something close to salvation. Over the next days and weeks, something unexplainable began to shift. Ava Sterling, the CEO who never shared space, never smiled at staff, never lived like an ordinary human, started appearing in places Michael never expected. A brief nod in the hallway, a passing comment about Lily's science fair project. A moment where she paused beside him during a meeting just long enough for Michael to feel that she saw him not as another employee lost in the shuffle, but as a person. Yet Benethier's cautious connection was a tension neither understood fully, a pull both magnetic and terrifying. Michael was determined to stay professional, convinced that any misstep could ruin the fragile life he was building. Ava, meanwhile, seemed to be fighting something invisible inside herself. The pressure of running a corporation, the loneliness that came with power, void of perfection she had carried so long it felt like skin. Then came the evening that changed everything again. Michael had stayed late at the office typing up a report desperately needed finished before morning. Lily was at her grandmother's house, giving him rare uninterrupted hours. The building was quiet except for the whisper of the air conditioner and the distant hum of nighttime traffic. Around 8 p.m., the lights flickered, then everything went dark. A power outage. The emergency lights kicked in, glowing faint red down the hallway. Michael grabbed his phone and flashlight tap, making his way toward the stairs. Ash past the executive level, he heard a voice, soft, uncharacteristically, Ava. She was standing near Hariphis, the emergency lights casting a warm glow over her face. She looked different in the dimness, softer, smaller, almost fragile. She admitted she had a fear of power outages, or remnant of a childhood memory she didn't elaborate on. Her vulnerability was so honest that Michael felt something inside him shift. The way a locked door finally gives after years of pressure. They climbed down the stairs together. Ava's hand gripping the railing tightly, Michael stayed at her side, steadying her without touching, guiding without aversing. When they reached the lobby, the backup generators flickered on. But neither moved for a moment. Somewhere between the 20th floor and the ground, something warm and wordless had formed between them, something undeniable. But reality, cold, rigid, and unforgiving, came crashing back when a few employees walked through the lobby. And Ava quickly stepped away, hair expression returning to its composite mask. Michael's chest tightened, but he understood. Their lives were different worlds, worlds that weren't meant to collide. Still, fate wasn't done with them. Over the next month, Ava found reasons to meet with Michael. New projects, feedback sessions, even a corporate charity event where she asked him to bring Lily. That evening became one of Lily's happiest memories. Ava sat with her, told her stories about being a girl with big dreams, and even shared a quiet laugh that made Michael's heart ache in ways he didn't expect. Lily adored her instantly. Michael wasn't far pinned, but the closer they grew, the more Ava pulled away afterward, as if afraid of what she was allowing herself to feel. And Michael, overwhelmed by unspoken fears of inadequacy, of losing everything again, of risking the stability he built for his daughter, didn't dare cross the invisible line between them until the night everything gongraveled. A major merger deal went wrong. Rumors spread. Shares dipped. The board blamed Ava suddenly. The woman who had always stood tall began to crumble under pressure, retreating behind closed office doors and cutting herself off. Michael watched helplessly as the weight of the world pressed onto her shoulders. 1. Evening, he found her sitting alone in the dark corner of Herifice, her face buried in her hands. No strength, no armor, no CEO-like perfection, just a woman overwhelmed and hurting. Something inside Michael broke open. He walked toward her quietly, sat down beside her on the floor, and without a word she leaned into him. First time, Ava. Sterling allowed herself to be human in front of Samios. She confessed how hard it was to always be strong, how lonely success had come, how the world never forgave her for a single flaw, how opening up to him terrified her more than any board meeting ever could. Michael didn't give advice. He didn't try to fix her. He simply held the moment, letting silence speak the words neither of them were ready to say. From that night on, something changed for good. Ava began smiling more, laughing more, watching Lily's soccer videos Michael showed her, bringing coffee to his desk without acknowledging it, standing a little closer, staying a little longer. And Michael found himself waking each morning with something he hadn't felt since his wife passed away. Hope. But world wasn't blind. Whispers started. Board members noticed. Employees speculated. The relationship weren't even officially in Beckham fuel for gossip. And Ava, terrified of losing everything she built, proposed they distance the Memphis. For Michael, it felt like cold water poured over a fragile fire, but then Lily got sick, a severe asthma attack. Michael rushed her to the hospital in a panic, and in his desperation he texted the only person could think of, Ava. She showed up in less than 15 minutes. No delays, no second guessing, just pure determination. The moment she entered, she became a steady presence in the chaos. She remained with them throughout the entire night, never once stepping away. She sat next to Lily's bed, gently cradling the little girl's tiny hand as if her touch alone could chase away fear. She stayed close to Michael too, offering silent strength whenever his worry made his voice tremble. And when he couldn't speak to the doctors, she did calm firm and unwavering. Not a single time did she leave them, not even for a breath. By dawn, when Lily's heartbeat steadied and her breathing finally softened into calm, Michael turned to look at Ava and something inside him shifted. He understood it then, in a way he never had before. People aren't defined by their job titles, their bank accounts, or the influence they carry. They're defined by what they choose to do when fear is real and nobody is watching, and Ava Sterling had revealed a soul far larger than any empire she managed. Ava reached for his hand. This time, Michael didn't pull back. And in that quiet hospital room, where morning sunlight drifted across the floor like a soft blessing, something unspoken between them finally found its shape. It wasn't declared out loud, but it existed warm, steady, waiting. If this story warmed your heart even a little, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly helps stories like this reach more people. Before we close, here's a small question. Do you believe unexpected moments can bring the right people together? Comment your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. In the weeks that came after, Ava didn't disappear or retreat behind her CEO mask. Instead, she openly supported Michael when the corporation pushed back. She confronted the board with confidence, defended his integrity, and made it clear that leadership didn't require her to bury her humanity. She reshaped her role, choosing a version of power that made room for compassion. And Michael, who had spent so long surviving day by day, began to transform too. He was no longer just an overworked employee or a single father trying to keep his world intact. He grew into a man stepping toward a future he had never believed possible, and little Lily, who had already endured more loss than most children her age, found in Ava someone who didn't try to replace what she'd lost, but someone who consistently showed up steadfast, gentle, and present. Their story wasn't flawless. It wasn't effortless. But it was genuine, and all of it began with one wrong door. A mistake that guided them exactly where they were meant to be, if you want a shorter version. A more romantic version or a version with extra emotional impact. Just let me know. I can shape it however you need.